Well, good morning. Um, it's Let me first, introduce myself, I guess. I'm Dr. David Prophet, Alan David Prophet, and I'll be your facilitator, your instructor for Philosophy 100 um, this semester. And I'm glad you took the course. I think it will end up being one of your favorite courses while you're at Big Sandy. And I don't say that because of me. I say that because of you, and I say that because of what this course can do for you and can introduce you to, and that is, at least if we don't find all the answers, we'll at least be asking all the questions, all the important questions of life, and those include who am I, uh, where did I come from, where am I going, and what am I to do while I'm here, and those questions encompass a lot of what philosophy is all about. We'll, we will sort of early on learn some of the philosophical language that we use that's particular to philosophy. Um, every discipline has its own language, I suppose you could say. English talks about verbs and adverbs and gerund phrases and sentence construction, paragraphical construction, those kinds of things. Mathematics uses, when I say I learned how to factor a quadratic equation, um, you have to know what that is, and that uses words like quadratic and equation and factoring and things like that. So mathematics has its language, and English has its language, and physics has its language, chemistry has its language, and philosophy has its language as well. Philosophy is not psychology. I will say that at the very beginning. A lot of people get them confused, and to some degree they do overlap in a way, but not greatly. Philosophy, I'll sort of explain philosophy to you in some general terms. First off, let me say that when I push the record button and start to make a video, I have no clue of what I'm going to say. So they tend to be rather rambling things, and I hope that in the ramblementation of it, that something gets through that will sort of lead you in a direction um, of knowing more about what we're talking about. That we, I want to make one every week. I want to introduce every week with a personal word from me that talks about what we'll be talking about during that week, what you'll be reading about during that week, and hopefully how that will relate to you and to the world we live in, things that are important to us, and the people that are important to us. Um, Philosophy deals with, as I said, the big questions in life, the important questions um, that we live with, and that we all um, at some point in our time ask these questions of ourselves, but we don't have the constructs. We don't have the language. We don't have the constructs. We don't have basically the rudimentary knowledge of what has been thought in the past, and so we just turn away from them because we feel like they're too difficult, and many of them are difficult. But that's true because philosophy deals with questions that no other discipline deals with. Um, Let me give you an example. And here I diverge, and I'm going down a rabbit path toward a rabbit hole that this just my mind just shoots off that way. But I'll give you an example. Up until mid 19th century, late 19th century, um, when a discipline called psychology, I mentioned psychology a moment ago, came into vogue, and some of the early psychologists started to develop ideas and theories about the mind and thinking and thought and those kinds of things, and personality and human nature. And this was even before the physiological ramifications of psychology came to play. which was even later than that when you talk about neural facilitators and neural inhibitors and how the brain functions and EPSPs and those kinds of things, which came even later. But at the early beginning of psychology, just began with the study of the mind and how we think, and when the mind goes wrong, why it goes wrong, things like that. But up until then, up until the time that it became its own science, it was called the philosophy of the mind. Now, that's true of science. Before there was a thing called science, it was called natural philosophy. So philosophy turns into other things when the questions that are being asked by philosophy start to come up, to find answers. And then the more answers and the more answers and the more answers that discipline finds out, then it becomes its own self. It becomes something else. So whereas Aristotle was a natural philosopher, he was also called the first scientist, even though there was no such thing as science at that time. And so philosophy asks questions, just asks questions about everything. And it asks questions of not so much of what, although it does ask questions about what, but it asks questions about why. So now let me try to refine myself and refine my thoughts of what I was going to say, which I probably won't remember, but I'll just say something else. Coffee is good for the mind. Anyway, the word philosophy itself comes from two Greek words, phileo and sophia. Phileo is one of the 4 or 5 Greek words in Greek that I'm talking about ancient Greek that translate love. One of them is eros, which is from which we get our word erotic. One of them is storge, another word for love in Greek, which just means general love, like I love a McDonald's hamburger, or I love that tree, the way the leaves look at it on it, something like that. And another is agape, which is a universal, uninhibited, all-encompassing love. And then another one is phileo. And phileo was a type of a brotherly love or a kinship. So that's one half of the word philosophy. And the other half, Sophie, comes from the word Sophia, which means wisdom. So the word philosophy, phileo Sophia, is the love of wisdom. That's what the word means. And so there is a love of wisdom. Wisdom is just good. It's good to know a lot of stuff. And I've got a son-in-law who I've got one son-in-law who's a brain surgeon. I've got another son-in-law who's an international pharmaceutical attorney, and both of them know a lot of stuff. They know more stuff than I do. Their knowledge is just unbelievable. But knowledge is not necessarily wisdom. Knowledge is knowing stuff. Wisdom is knowing what it is and how to use it, and what it means, and how it impacts the lives of human beings. And wisdom is always good, and to a large extent, I've found, and I'm 73. To a large extent, I've found that wisdom does increase the older you get, because your experiences are more, and you having experienced more, having learned more, having been to school longer, all those things added together, and then the age itself, because you no longer have to prove yourself to anybody. You come to a degree of comfort with who you are, and looking back across your life, or looking forward to what degree you can look forward to. It's just there's more of a sense of comfort, and that also brings wisdom and of knowing what life is all about, knowing what life means, knowing what love means, knowing what goodness means. And so the love of wisdom, philosophy. Another way to look at philosophy, and I think this is as much true as love of wisdom, is it's just always asking questions, never being afraid of any question. I want to stop just before I say what I'm getting ready to say, because what I was getting ready to say is, does God exist? Most people who take philosophy, the only thing they've heard about philosophy is sort of negative. Is don't take philosophy. Philosophers they're atheists, and they'll try to rob you of your belief in God and all that thing. And nothing could be further from the truth. Now, philosophy does have its share of atheists. That's true, because people who ask questions are eventually going to come to some position that they feel is right, and for some people that's going to lead to atheism. But there are a great many Christian philosophers, great many Muslim philosophers, a great many philosophers from Hindu philosophers who wrote the Upanishads, a great many, and Confucius was a philosopher, and there's Confucianism. The Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, was a philosopher, and there's Buddhism. So there's a great number of philosophers who have opted toward religion and not away from religion, and I'm one of those who've opted toward religion. And I find that philosophy and religion really come together in a wonderful way. So I don't want you to be afraid that or be put off by coming to the course thinking, well, he's going to say some stuff that I'm not really going to agree with. I probably will say some stuff you don't agree with, but it won't be about belief or faith or anything like that, because I am a person of faith. I'm a person who has a set of beliefs that I've held for 60 years or more, and philosophy's only helped to codify or ossify or solidify those beliefs. So, but neither will I infect you with those beliefs, because this is not a course about me. I'm who I am. I'm where I am. I know what I know. I've forgotten too much, and but I'm satisfied with who I am, where I am, and I'm content with that. And that leads me to a place where I don't have to convert you into anything. That's up to you. What you believe is up to you. What you believe is what you choose to believe. And that's fine. My purpose here is not to meddle with that. My purpose is to broaden your view so that you know when you graduate from this class, you know not only what you believe, but you know what people have believed and have thought and have held to be true. And we're going to start about 600 years BC in the last almost 3,000 years forward. So all that's going to do is enlarge your mind. All that's going to do is give you a better base from which to develop the rest of the pyramid of your life. And in building that pyramid, the bigger the base you have, the taller the pyramid you have. So what this course hopes to do is it so enlarge your base of understanding that you will be able to build a much larger pyramid and go much further in life than you would have had you not taken this course. I realize at this point, I'm thinking about time, there's no clock on this screen here. I wish there were. They need to make that on these kinds of things so be able to keep up with time yet. But I don't want to make this too long. But in this first video, I did want to introduce myself again. Um, I have an undergraduate degree from Center College um, in um, neurophysiology, the physiology of the brain, and then I have a master's degree in theology from Asbury Theological Seminary. Then I have a PhD from um, Asbury in philosophical theology. So that's where I come from as far as education goes. Um, we live in Paris, Kentucky now, and we've moved here in the last 3 or 4 years when I'm retired from Big Sandy, but I still teach a couple of courses for them in retirement. And so this allows me to do that online, and don't particularly, I like face-to-face classes a lot more, but can't do that anymore. So this enables me to do at least this. Once again, I'm glad you took the course. I really am happy about that. And I hope we get to know each other throughout the course of this time we have together. The course is not hard. It's not difficult. It requires you to do one reading per week, one chapter reading from the textbook per week, and then write a short response to that reading. And I've explained that on the course shell itself on how to write a manic paper. And then to take a little quiz over the chapter. There are no exams in the course. I don't really believe in exams. I believe in sharing as much as I can share and having students read as much as they can read, and then have them respond to that. And in doing that, what I've found is students learn more than they do if they memorize a bunch of stuff for an exam and then forget it the next week to go on to another exam. So I don't do exams. So it's not a hard course. But I will say this, and you do need to understand this: it deals with some difficult material. You will think in this course. You will have to think. Your reading will introduce you to new ways of looking at things. You'll have to think of those as you write your response to that. And then, of course, the quizzes will take care of themselves. They're just a response to the reading. So not much to that. Other than that, I probably could say more or whatever, but as I said, I don't. It's not until I close this out that I'll say, oh, I wish I'd said this, or I wish I'd said that. But I'm a walking advertisement for Asbury today. I see that. So anyway, I've been married to my wife for 52 years. We have 4 children. They're all grown, and all are married and living good, satisfying lives, doing what they do. If you want to ask me any questions, you can email me. I'll be glad to answer any question that I can answer, and be more than happy to do that. And again, I hope to do this every week. This is the initial video for the initial week, and I hope to make these every week so that, and I will introduce the topic of what we'll be talking about that week in the videos. So other than that, I'm sort of tired of talking right now, so I'm just going to stop. I'm going to go up here and click on stop. Stop recording.